The public is trained to watch the sky for missiles. Legacy media fixates on the kinetic cost of drone swarms. This is a strategic misdirection. The primary vector of systemic risk is no longer a launch-on-warning scenario. It is the engineered silence that precedes it. A state's solvency is not its arsenal, but its connectivity. Analysts at RUSI document the core vulnerability, the nervous system of global finance and military command. Undersea cables, satellite networks. We have already seen the blueprint at microscale. When MSCI raised investability concerns, the nearly $1 trillion Indonesian stock market plunged and halted. A data event triggered a systemic shutdown. This is the protocol. Not bombs, but a coordinated severing of data integrity. This is the blind Leviathan protocol, an asymmetric attack that uses silence as the weapon. By blinding satellites and cutting cables, an actor with conventional weakness renders a superpower deaf, dumb, and financially insolvent in minutes. It cannot command its fleets. It cannot clear transactions. It cannot project power. It is a zero-sum attack on systemic functionality itself. The motive for asymmetric escalation is not strength, but weakness. The entire protocol is triggered by a solvency crisis. An actor facing terminal domestic liability cannot afford a protracted, symmetric, kinetic conflict. The cost basis is simply too high. Analysis from strategic bodies like RUSI and CSIS framed Russia's military action not as a simple invasion, but as a preemptive move against its own insolvency. An unpopular war creates a severe domestic liability. The regime's survival becomes the primary asset to be protected. When the kinetic cost of conventional warfare exceeds the state's ability to finance it, a pivot is not a choice. It is a mandatory protocol. This is the inflection point where weakness becomes a weapon. The objective shifts from winning the battle to breaking the system that supports the opponent. The state discards expensive, attritional tactics and adopts a launch-on-warning posture for asymmetric strikes. The targets are no longer military formations, but financial markets, energy grids, and digital infrastructure. As seen with drone swarms, the leverage is immense. Low-cost assets inflicting high-cost systemic damage. The central equation of modern warfare is no longer force projection. It is engineered insolvency. The kinetic cost structure has inverted. A main battle tank, a multi-decade capital investment, costs approximately $5 million. A first-person view drone, often assembled from commercial parts, costs $500. This is the money shot. Analysts at the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, document this lethal arbitrage. It's a protocol for inflicting a solvency crisis on a conventionally superior power. Each drone is a low-cost trade against a high-value asset. The objective isn't to win a fair fight, it's to make the cost of defense unsustainable, to bankrupt the adversary on the battlefield by turning their strength, their expensive, exquisite hardware, into a systemic liability. This is the democratization of violence in its purest economic form. The barrier to entry for inflicting state-level damage has collapsed. Lethality is now a function of consumer electronics supply chains, not national industrial bases. A conventionally weak actor doesn't need a navy. They need access to a commercial shipping lane. They don't need an air force. They need 1,000 drones. For the actor facing conventional defeat, this asymmetric cost imposition is the only logical vector. It is a launch-on-warning protocol for economic warfare, forcing an attrition rate that no Western budget can sustain. This isn't a mistake. It's a mathematical certainty designed to bleed a superpower dry, one $500 cut at a time. The global system is not degrading from the center out. It is being deliberately attacked from the periphery in. The arenas you are told to dismiss, unstable regions, fringe markets, are not sideshows. They are the gray zone. These are the proxy laboratories where the protocols of systemic collapse are field-tested and perfected. It is here that a conventionally weak actor masters the blueprint for asymmetric escalation. They test non-kinetic attacks, like using index providers to trigger a market halt in a $976 billion economy, as documented with MSCI and Indonesia. This is a financial launch-on-warning event. A memo becomes the warhead, triggering a national solvency crisis. Simultaneously, in other gray zones, kinetic cost is driven to zero. CSIS reports confirm drone swarms are replacing legacy air forces, and proxy soldiers are absorbing kinetic liabilities, a fact evidenced by coalition casualty data in Afghanistan, where 1 in 3 deaths were non-U.S. assets. These are not separate phenomena. They are integrated rehearsals. A financial flash crash in Jakarta and a drone swarm in the Black Sea are nodes in the same attack vector, demonstrating how to inflict disproportionate, system-breaking damage at a negligible cost. This is the staging ground before the protocol is aimed at a primary target. The launch-on-warning doctrine is not a policy of aggression. It is a solvency protocol for a nation's nuclear deterrent. The logic is a mathematical certainty. Once early warning systems detect incoming kinetic strikes, a nation must launch its own arsenal before it is liquidated on the ground. Waiting for impact confirmation means having nothing left to fire. This creates a systemic liability. Analysts at RUSI have established that a cyber attack can blind these systems, or worse, spoof a launch that isn't there. This is the fog of digital war. A commander is presented with a binary choice, engineered by an asymmetric actor. Trust the corrupted data and initiate a counter-launch, triggering a terminal, kinetic exchange. Or distrust the data and risk the complete annihilation of your state's retaliatory capability. The protocol forces the commander's hand. The vector toward escalation is not a possibility. It is the pre-programmed outcome.